some provinces, and especially Alberta, because it is the one that has never received equalization, because it has always had provincial per capita fiscal capacity above the national average. And and it's true that Alberta taxpayers, because they are wealthier and they make more money at these lucrative jobs than other Canadians, they do pay more income taxes to the federal government than a New Brunswicker would. That's true. And so what the Alberta government has been doing now for several years is that it's been calculating its net contribution to federal government revenues. And I say net because what it does is it looks at all the money that Albertans send to the federal government in taxes, and then it looks at all the programming and stuff that and all the money that comes from the feds back to Alberta in the form of like health transfers, social service transfers, and whatever else it happens to be. And it notices there's a big gap. Alberta's paying more into Confederation, as it says, than it's getting out. New Brunswick, if it did the same calculation, it would realize that it's getting way more from Confederation than it's putting in. And Alberta just goes ballistic at these comparisons because they say, yeah, we're holding this whole place up. Like you guys are a bunch of, step dancing welfare bums, and we're like, we're paying for the whole welfare here. What's going on? Come on, you guys, get working for a change. Da, 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 da. And so that's the tension. This kind of this imbalance, which chronically leads to Alberta's net contribution. And I used to live in Alberta, and when you add to this long-standing fiscal grievance the fact that the federal government tried in October of 1980 to confiscate all kinds of Alberta natural resource revenues through the means of the National Energy Program, and when you add to that the fact that Alberta was created as a province in 1905 but did not get jurisdiction over its natural resources until 1930, and then when you add to that Alberta is like way out there in the west, and a good chunk of its early immigration came directly from the United States, not from Ontario. And when you add to that the Liberal Party of Canada has been in office approximately 66% of all the years of Confederation, and that the Liberal Party like almost never elects anybody from the province of Alberta. And then when you add to that the federal government appoints all of the judges to the provincial superior courts and to the Supreme Court of Canada, which has final decision-making authority over the meaning of the Constitution, and like I could just keep on going with this kind of stuff, then the Albertans just say like, this is all stupid. Like we're getting zip out of this country. And I think it's part of Alberta political culture just to have these grievances. But let me tell you, we're entering an interesting time here because the actions of the American government in February, March of 2025 and beyond are really stressing the fabric of this confederation, because Alberta has been looking for years for access to tidewater for its oil and gas production. And the federal government has been consistent in making it difficult or impossible to add pipeline capacity to tidewater, whereupon Alberta's oil and gas could be shipped to markets other than the United States. But as it is, so much of our production has to be shipped to the United States because there are no alternatives. And that means that Alberta gets about 25 or something percent less on its per barrel or per unit shipments to the United States, precisely because the United States is a monopoly buyer and it can buy at a discount and still get the supply. So we're not even getting like all of the punch out of the each barrel of oil that is being produced. And the Albertans say, yeah, and thanks, feds, for blocking every pipeline proposal we've tried to present over the years. Okay, so that's like the equalization thing is from the Alberta point of view part of a whole basket of longstanding grievances that may become more acute as we think about putting like a block on exports of gas to the United States to complain about their tariffs. Like the Albertans are just going to go crazy if that happens. I think even before Mr. Trump was elected last November 2024, We have seen initiatives from Alberta that seek to make the province a much more independent player in Canadian political and constitutional life. And I think the Alberta government under Danielle Smith has taken notes on Quebec's strategies for autonomy within Canada. And Alberta has said, yep, that's us too. We're going to do several of those things. We are going to assert our constitutional autonomy much more aggressively. We're going to be contesting federal initiatives very aggressively. And we think we are I'm not even sure if they use the language, but like a distinct kind of political entity in Canada. Like the language of distinctness comes up in Alberta and in Saskatchewan, by the way. So we have seen the passage in the last year and a half of the Alberta Sovereignty Act, which is not a declaration of independence, but it is a declaration of Alberta's constitutional federal independence within Canada. That Alberta will aggressively guard its constitutional authority against incursions by the federal government. And I talked at length about the Greenhouse Gas Pollution Protection Act earlier. Alberta is going to be really on guard against that kind of stuff in future. And it's interesting that since Mr. Trump has been in office and has, issued his myriad executive orders on everything and has told Canada that it's going to be the 51st state and so forth, 90% of Canadians object to Canada becoming the 51st state. 10% of Canadians do want to become the 51st state, and 20% of Albertans would be happy becoming the 51st state. So the pro-Trump, pro-America thing is more popular in Alberta than it is anywhere else in the country. So this is what's going to make the maneuverings of Canada with respect to the United States in the tariff war, in whatever retaliations we contemplate, more complicated. Canadians are not speaking with one voice on some of these measures.